at its peak, excise was 67% in the early 90s when things liberalized. So, to have a reduction of taxes to this benefit, it's nothing short of historic.
I've never heard of price going down by 10, 15, 20%, and vehicle makers have stood up and they've even sweetened the deal. This probably could be the best time to buy cars.
I think even people who are not considering buying a car at all are just saying, they're looking at a deal, and Indians love a deal.
Absolutely.
So even if you don't really need a car or want a car, a lot of people are going in for one.
We've seen Maruti Suzuki and Tata Motors offering car prices pre-COVID levels.
The OEMs like to show that they're passing it all on to the consumer. They're not keeping anything for themselves. It looks optically great. That's the instant reaction. But quietly, when it's all forgotten about, prices start inching up. Hello and welcome back to our weekly podcast, Deep Drive, powered by Kotak Mahindra Prime. Now, on this episode, we are going to be talking about something everyone's talking about, and that is the huge price cuts on cars with GST 2.0 or the revision of GST. I'm Hormazd Sorabjee.
Hi, I'm Ketan Thakkar. Yes, Hormazd, what about bonanza from the government of India?
And we've never seen taxes go down, especially on cars, because cars historically, I think from independence, from that kind of socialist mindset, that India became independent and we went for decades in that direction. Cars were always luxury, almost bordering on sin goods. I remember at its peak, excise was 67% in the early 90s when things liberalized. So, to have a reduction of taxes to this benefit, it's nothing short of historic.
Absolutely, Hormazd. I mean, I've never heard of price going down by 10, 15, 20%, and vehicle makers have stood up and they've even sweetened the deal. This probably could be the best time to buy cars, isn't it, Hormazd?
This is the best time to buy a car because I think the manufacturers have put their best foot forward and more a combination of, even kind of giving sweeteners for the festive season. Typically, when you do get deals and coupled with the GST, tax cuts and benefits, some of the prices are just fantastic. And I think people are rushing to showrooms, and I think, as you rightly said, now is the time because quite frankly, Jan 26, we will start seeing a correction in prices, once this euphoria gets over.
Absolutely, Hormazd. And to me, what is very interesting is that there's a cadence in which how the government of India has gone about offering these benefits. First, we saw rationalization of taxes, the income taxes, the new slabs that the government of India announced in the budget. Throughout the year, we've also seen the interest rate correcting. So, borrowing has become a lot more cheaper. Add to it the GST benefit, and there's pay commission coming for the government employees as well. Now you accumulate all that, and the incentive for people to buy is just phenomenal. And the only similar period I could reflect on, Hormuzd, was way back in 2008, 2009, when Pranab Mukherjee and the UPA-led government had reduced
after the Lehman Brothers crisis.
After the Lehman Brothers crisis, at that point in time, the excise duty was brought down significantly, and the Indian market at that point in time saw a phenomenal rise from 1.7 million. I think the market went up to 2.5 million. 2 consecutive years of 25% growth and 27% growth. And we are actually, sort of similar kind of time wherein all the benefits are coming together. And if you bundle it together, never ever have we seen 15-20% benefit to the consumer.
And to be honest, I think what's been a kind of, let's say, a repeating theme is that cars are hugely taxed in India. In fact, we are one of the most taxed big car markets in the world.
Absolutely.
I think if you compare it to the US, which absolutely there's no tax at all. Now you know why Trump is, just fighting for his tariffs. Because really, I think, the kind of taxes you have on cars, because that was a symbol of their freedom, their mobility. So different mindset in the US compared to what it is over here, where it's really a luxury good and has been seen like that for decades. But I'm glad to see that no longer the case. Countries like Europe, Germany and UK, where you have VAT, which is 20-25%, so clearly we are now down to that level, which we couldn't have imagined. Right. So I think really it's great news for the consumer. And as you said, there is such scope for growth because we are still about 30-40 cars per thousand.
Absolutely.
So really the rate of motorization still very low compared to these developed markets. So I think, with the price coming down and we are so price conscious, I think this is really going to be a real bonanza for the market. But Ketan, will this sustain? Because there are a lot of structural issues as well, so we can talk about the taxes coming down. I think, again, we'll see this spurt in growth, which I'm sure we will see, but it might again flatten out.
Now, I agree with you, Hormazd. I think the numbers that we saw from Maruti Suzuki, Hyundai and Tata Motors, they were the three companies that came out and revealed their numbers as to how...
Some 80,000 from Maruti, isn't it?
They got significant amount of bookings. Bookings, and there was about 11,000 cars that Hyundai delivered, 10,000 cars that Tata Motors delivered. But remember, the announcement of GST reduction, Hormuzd, came on 14th of August, 15th of August. So essentially, from 15th of
people
August,
were waiting.
Actually, and that interestingly was the first day of Onam. So in a way, your festive season kick-started with the Prime Minister announcing a GST reduction. So yes, the people who were due to get their cars did take their deliveries, but there was a significant chunk of buyers. They said, let's wait it out and let's wait for the best deal out in the market. So one should look at these numbers as a pent-up demand as well.
Right.
And like you said, I think the real, way to look at it would be to look at numbers from the time of Onam, which is 14th or 15th of August, right up till Diwali, when it gets over on 23rd or 24th of October.
Yeah, that's right.
But clearly, there will be growth.
And I think even people who are not considering buying a car at all are just saying, they're looking at a deal, and Indians love a deal.
Absolutely.
So even if you don't really need a car or want a car, a lot of people are going in for one.
Now, interesting you mentioned that, Hormazd. In fact, in India, we see three different kind of buyers, right? There's a new car buyer.
Yeah, the first-time car buyer.
First-time car buyer. There's a replacement car buyer, and there's a second car buyer. Interestingly, over the last 6-8 months, and especially in this season, what we've seen is that the replacement car buyer and the second car buyer in the family has grown. Wow. During the pre-COVID time, or immediately after COVID, the replacement cycle or the replacement buyer share had gone down to 18 to 19% almost. Now that has come back.
And the first-time car buyer had gone up then because everyone wanted to get out of shared mobility and into a car.
Correct. So the first-time car buyer went up to 46, 47%. It has come down to 41%, but it is on a very high base. And amongst the best in the world when it comes to the new order first-time car buyer. The replacement car buyer, that number has gone up from 18% to 25%. And the second car buyer, the number has now moved up to almost 30 to 33%,
wow,
which is the highest ever that we've seen in recent years. So clearly, you offer them the incentive, and Indian car buyers really waiting. Yeah. And we've seen the numbers talking actually.
Yeah, so that's the thing. When they see a deal, whether they want it or not, they'll go for it. It's like that joke, a guy goes up to a petrol pump and he tells the guy, "Hawa bharo." So he says, "Kitna?" 30 psi. So he said, "Kya hai? Kitna dena hai?" He said, "Saab, हवा तो फ्री है वो फ्री है फिर और 5 PSI डालो so, sorry, my Hindi is bad, but that's what it was. So so clearly they just, even if there's a deal, they don't need something, they'll just go and grab. And I think that is the case with the with cars right now to a certain extent. But I think that euphoria will be short-lived, this big spurt. So clearly, going forward, we have to see. And don't forget, cars are getting costly. So this has really come at a great time, even for the auto industry, which has been struggling with margins.
Absolutely.
So I think the government has really given a bonanza to the auto industry. There's no doubt about it. And, I think even small cars, big cars, it's just across the board.
Absolutely.
I mean, even in a way, some, imported luxury cars are benefiting.
Absolutely. I think you mentioned it, Hormazd. The small car buyers, they were under a prolonged strain. And we saw the entry car and entry bike customers really deferring their purchase. Now, no more. Now is the time, and the cost elevation that we saw over the last few years, they've been addressed, and the sentiment has improved so significantly, and so clearly there was a cost elevation of about 20-25%. Now we've seen Maruti Suzuki and Tata Motors offering car prices pre-COVID levels. And people are also reducing prices beyond the GST benefit. And
that's what I want to talk about. So I think, Ketan, let's go into the cars. I think clearly there are huge discounts. I think, Autocar Pro had done a story on the highest price drops with GST 2.0. Interestingly, a lot of Mahindras in them, Boleros, XUV 3XOs, XUV 700, which I think is due for a facelift. So clearly that's, they've realized that. And a lot of this is tactical, Scorpio and all. I think about, on a Bolero, it's about 2.56 lakhs off. On a Scorpio, 2 lakhs off. So it's quite a lot here. So I think manufacturers are, using this to add a bit of additional value and tactically, adjust the price as well.
Now, I think given where Mahindra is, and you always give credit to Mahindra for being nimble in the market and riding the wave. They are number 2 right now. They are hitting a new peak. They want to capitalize with this and, combine the benefit of tactical pricing along with the GST benefit and really make the most of the buying that you're going to see across the country right now.
Absolutely. And I think interesting, we've seen a big, let's say, price reduction on the Ceros as well, Kia Ceros. 1.86 lakhs off. I mean, that's what they've knocked off on, the top variants. And again, I think very tactical, because the Ceros, one of the reasons for its flop, to be very honest, was the pricing.
Absolutely.
They'd gone and overpriced it. And on top of that, those peculiar looks, it became a hard sell.
Absolutely.
So I think, they've corrected that mistake because they just took it too close to the
sell-cost pricing.
And why would you buy a sub 4 meter and that? And at the end of the day, whether the car is spacious inside or not, Indian consumers know that it's sub 4 meter, you're getting a tax benefit. Why are you charging me more for it? So again, it goes back to the deal they want. So I think, again, Ceros has, let's see whether this can be a lifesaver for them or kind of, bring the volumes back for Ceros. But I think, Ketan, again, another tactical play is people, taking advantage of the GST cut and dropping into lower tax slabs.
Yes.
We've seen that. I mean, Maharashtra is a classic case.
Yes, exactly.
I think if a car is, 10.5, they'll drop it to below 10. Certain variants, of course, because I think there's a 1% tax benefit. And I think 10 to 20 is another one. So if it's above 20, it's higher than 10 to 20. So clearly, again, over there. So I think, they've been very intelligent. Plus also festive offers combined in. And I think, we've got some really sweet deals.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, Hormazd, it was a, big window for even the guys who are actually tactically outpricing themselves or undercutting themselves. If the people were undercutting, it is time to protect their margins. If people were overpricing, in case of Ceros, this is the right time to actually calibrate their price, make it a sweet deal, and which is what we knew Kia for. And this is like the right time. You get it right, and consumer will again come back. I mean, the freshness of the car is still there. And Mahindra and Tata again, I was shocked to see the pricing of Punch and Tiago going back to pre-COVID levels. So clearly, I mean, it is. I keep saying it, best time to buy. I've never seen such kind of deal discount ever in the market. But exactly what you mentioned, sustenance of it. Indian market was slowing down. I mean, we had never seen the kind of revival in the market like we saw post-COVID, and we saw over the last couple of years.
That has flattened. It's a high base. To expect those levels of growth it was going to be difficult. And cars, I think, Ketan, were just getting costlier and costlier, whatever you say, regulation, let's say our exchange rate, we still are dependent on a lot of imported content, especially certain critical components.
Absolutely.
Obviously, locally manufactured cars more insulated to that. But it's just been, the cost pressures have been huge.
Absolutely.
And this really comes as a huge relief in that sense.
And you also mentioned about the road tax, Hormazd. That is a joker in the pack, actually. I mean, that is not controlled. That is
and
at
some
a
states
discretion.
are unreasonably high, like Karnataka.
Yes.
And I think
Kerala.
Yeah, I think maybe this is one of the biggest sources of income. So
absolutely
from the road tax. But clearly, I think you can see how different states have different strategies for this.
Absolutely. So there is that significant tax that a consumer pays beyond what it pays to the center. And that is still not controlled. I mean, let's see, how long these states will hold on to these tax rates, because with a lower GST, the compensation to the state also goes down. And the only two ways that they make money is by taxing cars and taxing liquor.
Right. Yeah.
So, one just hopes
both are sin goods.
Yeah, they're sin goods. One just hopes that, the states don't capitalize on it, and the higher volume will actually eventually compensate the state as well, the center.
I think that is the hope, that, they will recover the reduction in the rates by, higher volume, which kind of compensate for that. That again remains to be seen. I'm sure it will be seen in the short term. And I think, Ketan, one thing unique about the market is our distinct, let's say, tax brackets. The small car tax bracket, which I think was kicked off in 2008, very, very unique, to kind of encourage small cars, which you can get into. And that has benefited the most, dropping from 28 to 18%.
Absolutely.
Whereas, the plus 4-meter cars are collapsed down to 40% from varying rates. For SUVs, went up to 48%, and, then the 43, I even forget.
There are many permutations and combinations.
Yeah, and even ones with higher ground clearance
Yes.
went up to 50%.
Yes.
That's gone right now.
Right.
So hopefully, these companies will share their ground clearance figures, especially the big SUV makers like Tata and Mahindra, which never did that because clearly, they were managing it by lowering the ground clearance
Right.
to kind of, get that 2% benefit. But I think that's all gone now.
Right.
It's all a flat 40%. It's clearly, I think the sub 4 meters have benefited the most.
That begs the question, Hormazd. Could this have been time? I mean, there was always this debate and discussion, especially amongst the multinational corporation, whether that sub 4 meter rule and 1.5 liter rule and 1.2 liter rule, does it make sense? I mean, does that make India an outcast from a global car market, which is rather bigger? How do you see this continuing to offer benefit for small?
I mean, that is a debate. I mean, we are not aligned with global regulations when you have this kind of distinct sub 4 meter benefit which continues. I mean, really no big car market has it. I mean, Japan has it with, really small cars, but that's a very K cars, Kejirasha cars, but it's a very small niche. Yeah. I think only we have it. I think from, let's say, a structural point of view, from an economics point of view, it doesn't make sense because clearly, you're not aligned, and for companies to invest, then it becomes difficult because they don't have global scale with sub 4 meter cars. We are the only real market for them.
Right.
So, these cars can only sell here. I mean, Kailak is a classic example, Skoda Kailak. I mean, it's over here, whereas theoretically, vehicles like the Kushaq and all can go to South Africa. They can go other places. So I think this is one kind of angst the global automakers have had. But personally, I feel, small cars, I think definitely they should be encouraged, especially now because, the kind of congestion we'll have. Everyone's talking about this huge kind of, let's say, burst in demand. I mean, this huge demand for cars right now. Where are you going to drive them? Where are you going to put them? So I think congestion is a major issue. And
parking.
I, for one, believe that, you should, let's say, give an advantage to small cars, to compact cars, but it could be irrespective of powertrain now.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have a regulation where you still benefit the sub 4 meter cars at 18%, but it should be irrespective of powertrain. Because today a 1200cc petrol or even a 1500cc diesel, in today's era of hybridization, downsizing, different technologies you have, cubic capacity is making less and less of a difference and an impact as far as, let's say, even CO2, fuel efficiency, all that goes. I think that was the reason for having it. Right. So, I think that's what it is. But I think, Ketan, within this segment, within the sub 4 meter segment, there are a lot of sub-segments.
Yeah.
Which one do you think will benefit the most? I mean, the sense I get is it will be the compact SUV segment.
Absolutely, Hormazd. The sub-compact SUV, the sub-4-meter SUV.
Because there, let's say, the difference in the tax rate is proportional. The absolute number, the absolute rupee, cut will be the maximum.
Absolutely, and it actually is the biggest segment in the market right now. About 28%.
That's right. Yeah,
28% of Indian market.
I think about 13, 14 models. I've even lost track of them.
Yes,
everyone's got a model there. Practically.
Absolutely. So, and again, it is high on aspiration. Everyone wants to get into the SUV space. Again, an Indian invention to have an SUV in 3.7, 3.8 meter length.
Yeah,
and
I think what 4 meter, 3.9.
Yeah, that's right. Up to 4 meter, and more car makers are actually going to get into that space. So it actually addresses the compact dimensions, but it also addresses the look and feel and the airy nature of how the SUVs are, the road presence.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how the hatchbacks fare in this. I don't see them really, seeing a big jump in demand. I think it's more a structural issue there. People don't want hatchbacks anymore. In fact, I think a lot of first-time buyers are jumping straight into compact SUVs. Yeah.
I agree. It's got to also do with the options that you have in the market now.
Yeah, there are not too many hatchbacks left.
Yeah.
But interesting, Ketan, that talk about hatchbacks and let's say the lowest common denominator, the entry point. The ubiquitous car, which is there for everyone, the Alto, is now no longer the cheapest car. Maruti tactically have priced the Espresso lower than the Alto with the new GST cut. So really a lot of, let's say, tactical pricing there. Clearly, I think even from Maruti's standpoint, they see the SUV body style or that design form, and they want to push that.
Absolutely. And it's a right kind of, again, meets the aspiration, tall boy. It has a polarizing view with regards to design.
I don't like the design at all, to be honest. But, I think when you get anything at a good price, you'll just buy it.
Yeah.
And the flip side was the Syros, that I think people may not have had such an issue with the Syros's design if it was priced more reasonably. But now that it was so expensive, they even brought that in as a factor for why not to buy. But coming back to the Espresso, what's interesting is that I think one of the reasons they've done this pricing is that the Alto has 6 airbags and the
Espresso has 2 airbags.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So the most affordable car in the market today is Espresso with 2 airbags.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Yeah, we had the Tata Nano. That was the cheapest car. Then you had the Alto for a while and Maruti 800 and of course now this. So I think, I don't know if that's a tag Maruti Suzuki like to have, but it is, let's say, I think it just shows at 3.5 lakhs, starting price is just amazing that we can give a car at that point.
It's really nice to see. Hormazd, that begs the question, sustenance of it. How do you see this moving ahead? Because India is the 3rd largest market in the world, and we often question the car makers, how long will this growth sustain? Earlier in the year, the CM, the Industry Body Association, had forecasted 1 to 2% growth. Now everyone's talking about 5 to 6% growth. And long-term, people are talking about probably Indian market going to even 6 million. How do you see the sustenance of it? Do you think now probably is the trigger point that will probably take the Indian market ahead? What do you think?
I think, definitely we've seen that, lowering prices lead to a spurt in demand. It can be sustained. I think we'll have to see whether manufacturers hold on to this price or, they just start slowly raising it. We've seen that.
Yeah.
At any time there's some kind of a tax benefit given, the OEMs like to show that they're passing it all on to the consumer. They're not keeping anything for themselves. It looks optically great. That's the instant reaction. But quietly, when, it's all forgotten about, prices start inching up.
Things normalize and then you start seeing.
And I think we will see prices going up in Jan 26. Yes. I mean, the fact is margins are very, very thin on cars.
Yeah.
And clearly that's there with a lot of, let's say, even the smaller volume players. And as you go up market, especially some of the CKD players, it's very, very small volume, not much, very tiny volumes. But India fundamentally is a very low margin market, and so this has given them some cushion.
Yeah.
But the costs are still, let's say, very, very, very quite exorbitant, and so I think they will start taking prices up. Obviously, companies will see which models of theirs don't have much competition. They can take them up with impunity. I mean, Toyota is a classic example of that. Fortuner, I don't know, it just keeps going up. I really don't know what it says, how much reduction there's been on the Fortuner. It'd be interesting to see that. But, or there will be others, who really have to kind of buy market share. Yeah. They may not increase their prices. So again, it's going to be very tactical going forward.
So normalcy will set in.
I think normalcy will set in, but I still think I don't see a huge jump in growth. I think we are very saturated right now.
Yeah.
Our base has been super high.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a function of the economy, our own GDP, our own, per capita income. All these factors play a key role in determining, let's say, vehicle penetration there.
No, close to millennium, Hormazd, if I'm not wrong, the Indian car market was very similar to Chinese car market.
Yeah.
And the Chinese car market today has gone to 30 million as against India's 4.3
million. You see that per capita income and that how much of a role that plays for them.
And plus one thing that I keep hearing from friends, multinational corporation, is the fact that the infrastructure, the pace of road development, there the infrastructure comes up first, then the consumer goes. I guess in India also, Mr. Gadkari has been pushing along in terms of building roads, but there's still a lot needs to be done.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think infrastructure, to give the governments their due, it's been phenomenal. I mean, look at the city of Mumbai. Who would have imagined something like Atal Setu, Coastal Road, and really a lot of the flyovers which we've had, But again, that's not enough.
Yeah.
We do need good public transport infrastructure as well. And, talking about infrastructure, I think the main key for that will be for EVs, because that charging infrastructure has not kept pace. But it's not just India. That's the case in Europe as well. And one of the reasons why, there's been an EV slowdown over there. I think only China has really aced this, and so have the Norwegian countries. But, it's a global challenge and a global problem.
Absolutely.
But, I think as long as car prices are reasonable, I think people will buy them. But I think there is a point where I think, the demand is, as I said earlier, is flattening.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, and hopefully, there will be momentum with this. When we saw that heady recovery post-COVID, the CAGR growth rate of India has started improving. And if you look at India from three different, phases, Hormazd, from 2000 to 2010, the CAGR was 10%. But again, the base was low. As we started swelling up as a market, between 2010 to 2018, the CAGR dropped down to about 6%. And in the last 7 years, even though there was a recovery, the market grew from 3.8 to 4.3, 500,000 added at a CAGR of 4%. Now, the question was, where will the next growth come from? And world over, the TIV is falling. And everyone knows there's only one market in the world which is growing. And that's the reason why you're seeing huge amount of money being put in, huge amount of capacity being put in.
Yeah. So even those people who are not doing well, they don't want to give up. They're keeping that put in here.
Absolutely.
Like a lot of the European brands.
Absolutely.
They're not
there is next phase of investment coming in from literally every brand. And the good part is that while the costs have gone up with the regulation, we are closely aligning with the global markets, and more cars are now suitable. We would want to have more bigger cars and more cars aligned to global regulation.
That's right.
But now, India is inching up from a regulation standpoint. Hopefully, this will be a trigger point for the next wave of growth.
Yeah, no, Ketan, that's a good point you made, because, we were at the Munich show, and you look at the cars, and these are great cars, but to bring this to India is just not going to be feasible from a cost standpoint. Because you take all the taxes, but I think now with, even at 40%, I think it opens up the possibility for a lot of the global brands to bring certain models. I don't know what it is right now, but while we've spoken about the maximum benefit being given to the sub 4 meter from 28 to 18, but even, let's say the small drop down to 40% from whatever 43, 44 down with,
if you take 55%.
Yeah, you take the combination of the earlier GST plus Cess, now with Cess is gone. So I think even that, kind of opens up a lot of opportunities. So I think, this sort of high tax has been a huge barrier as well for a lot of OEMs.
And add to it the FTA, Hormazd, since you spoke of
that's right.
EU FTA comes in, and if you add to all the other important moves that the government of India has taken, FTA with UK and EU may further kind of make the deal sweeter.
I mean, again, talking about taxes, our import duties have been amongst the highest in the world. I mean, they've come down right now. I remember, in the 80s when we bought a family Volkswagen Sirocco. We paid 176% duty.
Insane.
The only difference was that car was cheap then, $7,300, and dollar was 10 rupees. So 73,000 rupees plus the duty, and it was on road for 2 lakhs, which is it was crazy. And cars above 1600cc were 300+%.
Insane.
So that was what the taxation was. But again, we have other countries like Singapore, where the most car unfriendly place where taxes are crazy. It's sometimes you have to pay something like $70,000 for a certificate of, let's say entitlement ownership, the COE. So there are a few pockets where the taxes are much higher than in India. But I think as a large car making nation, I think we are still amongst the highest, but it's good to see that taxes are coming down.
And that is what the government has been saying. It's a direction that we are taking. And this 2.0 was a step towards rationalizing it. And then who knows? There was always a direction given that Cess will eventually go away. But that Cess has led to
problems with the dealers.
Challenge for dealers. I
think they're really stuck.
Yeah, really feel
because
bad.
This, this transitional credit, they paid the cess, and you can only pay back cess, but the cess is gone now, isn't it? I think that's the crux of it.
Absolutely. And I just hope that, because see, at the end of the day, what I feel is that if your dealer is healthy and it's they're making money, the consumer gets the best deal. And I just
his impact is some 2,500-3,000 crores, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. There was close to about 7 lakh inventory in the market, and more than 40-50% of the cars, the cess would have been already paid for by the dealers. Now, at various forums, the government authorities did mention that they'll look into the matter, but the government order is already out there. There's no mention of what happens to the cess, and the dealer fraternity is trying very hard. And at the end of the day, there's a dealer margin, the dealer experience. If they are dealt a heavy blow, it also impacts the market. So I'm just hoping that some car makers like Mahindra and Mahindra took a proactive stand of not producing more in the month of August, and they also did come out with the new pricing, and some of the other car makers also did that, but there's still unpaid or other the cess credit on their books. The dealer fraternity is knocking at multiple doors.
And it's a silly thing. There's no kind of option or mechanism to pay it back right now.
Absolutely.
It kind of goes against the spirit of it.
It goes against the spirit of it. I just hope that the dealer fraternity gets their due, and eventually, if the ecosystem is taken care of, then the consumer stands to gain even more, and that gives you the leg for a sustained growth in the coming years.
Yeah, Ketan, I think really, I just hope the dealers are dealt with fairly, because clearly this is a big blow for them, and really for a reason which should be resolved. But I think, coming back to, let's say, consumer, like we said earlier, this is the best time to buy a car, because, I mean, the deals are fantastic across the board. It's not just a small car, luxury car, everything. The prices have dropped considerably, much, much cheaper. And I think we know that prices eventually go up despite all the tax cuts, the benefits, everything that there is. So really the best time to buy a car is right now. And on that note, we'll end this episode of Deep Drive. Hope you enjoyed watching it, listening to it. You can catch us every Saturday at 11 a.m. on YouTube. So do stay notified by clicking the subscribe button, and you can also hear us on other podcast platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks for watching.